Okay, so now we're getting into that pattern stuff that I talked about, lesson 211, okay? We're going to notice patterns in the multiplication chart. So you actually have to start, because a big part of the pattern noticing we're going to be doing for the whole rest of the week is about even and odd. You just want to start by reviewing what does it mean to be even. What does it mean to be even?
Divisible by 2.
It's divisible by 2. You might brainstorm some different things. What does that mean to be divisible by 2?
Split up into 2 equal groups.
Split up into 2 equal groups. And then you might even start, as you start to generate that prior knowledge, get into how can we tell if a number is even, right? And here they have, in 2nd grade, learned the trick. Maybe some people remember it, some don't, which is just to look in the ones place. And so what you really need to have a conversation about is the why. If that's even, the whole number is even. And if you're watching at home, this is a part where you want to stop and think, why? What explanation do I really want to hear? Guys, what explanation do you really want to hear for why the whole number is even if the ones place is even?
Because you can split it into 2 even groups.
But why? If I'm only, let's take an example like 76. If I'm only looking at the 6 and saying I can split the 6, right? We're saying you just have to look in the ones place. Why does that mean that the whole number is even?
Well, you'll always be able to split a 10 into 2 equal groups.
You'll always be able to split tens. You'll always be able to split hundreds. You'll always be able to split thousands. And so you really only have to worry about if you can split the ones place. And so that's worth a review. If you need to, you can draw it out. In 2nd grade, they learned even by literally going like this. 1 for you, 1 for me, 2. Being even, being fair, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that even?
No.
No. We made 2 equal groups, but there's 1 extra. So if I was going to do 79, I'd go like this. Split my tens rod. Split my tens rod, split my tens rod, split my tens rod, split my tens rod, split my tens rod. Right? I'd split all of those tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79. And again, I'd see that it's odd. Now, I don't expect you to necessarily teach all of this part, but I want you to have this in your back pocket. If even and odd is a big stumbling block for some students, you might even pre-teach this on Monday in your intervention block and get back to some basics with some Unifix cubes just to make sure, because this is going to be the foundation of a lot of thinking. If you don't understand how even really works, not just what it is and how to find it, but why the way we find it works, you're going to have trouble. Okay? Any questions so far? What you really want to emphasize more than anything else is that you make all even numbers make 2 groups. That's going to be key because as we look at the multiplication chart, we're going to be thinking about groups and making 2 groups. So maybe that will help you. And you could even ask, making 2 groups of something, what's that remind us of? 2 times something, right? Because the times symbol means groups. Great. You can do a quick now, I spent a long time on that because I wanted you all to have a foundation. I don't imagine you all spending a very long time because you will have pre-taught to make sure even and odd is pretty solid. Do a really quick review. Then this is a quick drill. You can just be like, great, 8, odd or even?
Even.
Yes.
Even.
Odd or even?
Odd.
Odd or even? And you can let kids vote. Odd, even. I don't know. But you get the idea, right? Quick. Now we're getting into and this is, I guess I would just say this is kind of a long lesson. Because the first part of it is, let's review odd, even. The second part is actually, you're going to start to teach them how to explore. And you're going to give them time. And you're then going to have to come back and have like a follow-up conversation. So we just did the odd and even part. Here's where you're getting them ready to explore. Today our goal is to determine which sets of multiples are always even. Why do you think it might be helpful, by the way, to know if multiples are odd or even?
Because then you'll know if 2 is a factor.
Yep, you'll know if 2 is a factor. When you're memorizing your multiplication facts, you'll know if one of them fits, right? So the chart below, oh gee, it's not showing up on your PowerPoint. I'll try to make it a little bit darker. Because in my PowerPoint, these are gray. And maybe you could even just gray them out yourself with like a different color. What do you think? Here are my evens, right? In my hundreds chart. Everybody great with that? These are my even numbers. So now what I'm going to do, because it shows up gray on yours, right? Yeah. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle the multiples of 3 and try to notice something about even and odd. Okay? How do I circle multiples of 3 in a hundreds chart?
Count by 3.
I count by 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is where they're going to have trouble. What are they going to want to do?
Circle the 13.
Right. 1, 2, 3. So get them started. This one is guided. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. First of all, you guys are going to have the chance to notice all kinds of patterns besides odd and even. Do you think you want to spend any time on those? Yes. We never know which kinds of patterns they're going to ask us about. So let them generate ideas and let them go up past the ones that are common. You can get really fast at circling them because I notice lots of patterns, right? Like it makes a diagonal. What do you notice about odd and even? Every other one is odd and even. That is a conjecture. That is like a truth or a rule about math that we could test and see if it's always true. We call that a conjecture. Every other multiple of 3 is odd, then the other is even. Or you could say it alternates odd, even, odd, even. The multiples of 3 are both odd and even. Now we're not going to talk about why yet, but just saying that is not enough. We need to be thinking, what do we know about multiplication? What do we know about 3? Because these are multiples of 3. So what do we know about multiples? What do we know about 3 that would help me understand why this makes sense? That's our ultimate goal. Now, in order to help us, you're going to do an exploration sheet. And that's what you would tell the kids. So your exploration sheet has space for them to do the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, and the 7s. So they will work on all of those before they explain any kind of conjecture. Because I think it's actually helpful to notice some things in the end. So does this make sense? I said first you review odd and even, then you get started on an exploration, and finally you come back after you've given them some time to work. So you have here, how does this look, Jesse? Good. All right, so here on the front, right, they can do the page. You let them work for like 10 minutes, and then you come together to do the back. And after you've done that, then they can get started on IP. Does that make sense? So it's a lot of pieces. So this is what they're going to notice. When you go over it, you come back to the carpet. This were the 4s. Check, look at your paper. These are the 5s. Aren't the 5s cool? 5s look pretty neat. Actually, the 4s look pretty neat too. Okay, you write, you go over it. The 4s, by the way, what are they?
Even.
They're even. The 5s are what?
Uneven.
Oh, huh. You're going to do the 6s, and then you're going to do the 7s. These are the 6s. These are the 7s. You guys are talking. What do you notice? Are you noticing things?
Do we want them to say, like, we know that the 3s can go odd and then even because anytime you multiply an even amount of groups, it's going to be even?
Yeah.
Is that, okay.
That's how it is.
So wait, let's before you get there, let's kind of organize our thoughts. Which multiples are even?
The even one, please.
The even ones, right? The 4s. Oops. So far, of the ones we've explained, the 2s, the 4s, and the 6s are even. Why do you think that is?
Because you always have an even amount of groups. Yeah.
Well, or
Even
even, let's
amount in
say,
the group.
or an even amount in the group,
Yes.
right? Great. That would be here. We always have an even amount in the groups. If you have 5 groups of 2, 5 groups of 4, it doesn't matter how many groups you have, you always have an even amount in the groups, so you're always going to be able to split it evenly. And then, yes, I should actually add, I'll add a row. Why do you think the 3s alternate odd or even? Because then it's exactly like you said. Why do the 3s alternate odd or even? Let's write out our 3s. 1 times 3. And by the way, this is going to be a strategy that's going to come up a lot on a chart. When numbers are circled, we might have to write out the products. Let's see. This one is
3.
odd. This one is.
Even.
This one is.
Odd.
This one is.
Even.
This one is.
Odd.
Why do you think they're alternating odd or even?
Because you have an odd number of groups. Or you have an odd amount in each group. So
You
can't
always
split
have an odd amount in each group.
So you have an odd number of groups. So you can't split the groups evenly.
Sometimes you have an odd number of groups, then it's odd.
Right.
But if you have an even number of groups,
It's even.
then it's even. So if you have an even number in each group, you're good. And if you have an even number of groups, you're good. Cool. Let's mark the even sets on our multiplication chart.
Is that true? Is an odd times an odd always odd?
That's going to be the next step. Is that true? Is an odd times an odd always odd?
7 times 81. Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess so.
So you'll practice that actually the next day as a larger conjecture, right? This day is really grounded in which multiples are odd, which multiples are even. And so you can highlight them and see this pattern really clearly in the multiplication chart. Now this isn't a hundreds chart anymore. This is the multiples. You with me?
Sure.
Do you expect multiples of 8 to be odd or even and why? So this is a big day.
Yes.
There's a lot happening. There's your odd and even review. Yeah.
Oh.
Odd and even review. Let them explore a little bit. And then you have to kind of bring everybody together to figure out what they notice. Okay? You can stop the video, Jesse. Thank you.